Now, I don't play a whole lot of sports games, but this game that I want to talk about today, Golf Story. Golf Story is not a traditional sports game. It really feels like a spiritual successor to Mario Golf and Mario Tennis on the GBC, the two games from 1999 and 2000. Those games were not just golf games, though. They had independent stories and RPG elements that meshed really well together, surprisingly, for a sports game at least. And Golf Story sort of takes the same idea. It's an RPG light with sports. So, is it any good? Well, let's sit down and take a look at Sidebar Games' Golf Story, an endearing game about a kid who has a strange fear of geese and lives to golf. I'm coming into this kind of blind. There was essentially no information on this game until a week ago, and even then it's basically been a story-based golf game with lots of unique courses. Very descriptive, right? Funny enough, that about sums it up. He plays a guy who has loved golf his entire life, but nobody at the golfing club will give him a fair chance. The coach there flat out refuses him, calls him garbage, and all of his neat proteges rag on him as well. Well, by stealing money out of people's unlocked cars, our underdog eventually gets enough money to afford his first golfing lesson. This launches us on a surprisingly epic adventure through a variety of themed courses that will eventually challenge you to become the best golfer ever. So the real focus of the game is obviously on swinging your clubs, and that goes over well enough, I suppose. I'm not really an expert in this, so please excuse my ignorance, but it really just is a lot of fun. I feel like you can control everything about your swing, and trying to line up your shots is always tense, but fun even though it's really just a timing thing. It's challenging because not only do you have to account for the wind, the slope, the angles, etc., but every course has its own perks and dangers. For example, the first course, Well-Worn Grove, is fairly straightforward. The only thing here are these damned gophers that throw your ball in the bunkers if you land too close. But the second course, Lorker Valley, introduces wide open rivers, lakes, and even tar. There are even turtles that can bounce your ball in the right direction or the wrong direction depending on where you hit it. But the water also introduces some problems because if you land in the water, you'll gain an extra point, and seeing as this is golf, you want as few points as possible. There's another course where a bunch of stuck-up old men expect you to play with vintage clubs. There's a mountaintop with lots of wind and crazy angry birds. Hell, there's even a haunted graveyard theme area. Side note, do not hit the pumpkins in a haunted area. Bad things will happen. As you play through the story, you'll be able to level up, gain experience, and upgrade your stats. Now, this is kind of hard for me to tell and explain because it sort of feels like these are just numbers and the stats don't really do anything, but I might just be bad at it. The difference between level 1 and level 10 or even level 20 kind of feels like a drop in the bucket, but I appreciate the stats anyway because it's always good to see numbers increase. You can also buy various equipment at the pro shops on different courses that give a variety of bonuses, such as longer drives or higher lofts. You'll also use money that you get from side quests to buy these, and eventually you'll probably want everything because some of these are required for the story. Trust me, this game does not hold your hand, and golfing is certainly not the only thing you'll be doing. Among traditional golf, you'll also have these crazy obstacle courses, kicking lazy disc golfers off your home turf, rescuing baby turtles, digging for treasure, and even battling wizards, believe it or not. There's really a huge variety of stuff to not only introduce you to the mechanics, but to also keep things fun and interesting. I love this about Golf Story because, contrary to the title, it's not just about golf. You'll end up doing some insane things to complete your side quests. For example, you get to kill skeletons in a golf game. What? I don't know why this happens, but trust me, I have no problems with it. Now, there's a lot of different side quests for sure, but the way that every side quest is introduced is really intriguing and had me wondering just what would happen next. Like, where is this going? What is the ultimate goal? And the reason for that is the dialogue. This is some of the best writing I've seen in a long time, especially on a game of this caliber and scale. It really has a sort of Stardew Valley-esque charm to it in a way. It seems like all the characters have motivations, and the jokes they tell are on point. For example, there's one moment in the game where you're in a long drive competition and you end up winning in this huge upset. It's great. Everybody's cheering for you. And then in the award ceremony, the guy that owns the course and the guy that made the trophy, he's like, well, we totally expected our star guest to win. We didn't really think he would get this far in the tournament, so we kind of already got his name sketched on the trophy. Sorry, kiddo. When I played this, I just had the biggest smile on my face. And the best part is there are dozens of situations like this. Everyone is so funny. It really is just a sort of feel-good game, if that makes sense. That doesn't mean it's perfect, though. I feel like the game could have used a few more rounds of bug testing, as I've ran into several soft crashes and some weird camera glitchiness. For example, one time I was exploring the map and I came across this old NES golf game that was built into Golf Story. And I didn't really know what I was doing, so I just kind of whacked the ball, and it kind of kept going around in circles and it never stopped. I actually had to force close the game. But luckily the game saves on every screen transition, so if it does crash, you don't really lose that much progress. So besides the bugs, there's only some minor things I have to comment on. The music never really felt particularly engaging to me. It was pretty forgettable in my opinion. The graphics are alright, they're 2D. It's not nearly as good as like something like Stardew Valley, but you know, it gets the job done. Sometimes it could be a little tricky to tell where your ball is going to go, but it's not really a huge deal. You kind of get used to it. The only other thing that I have to say is that some of the side quests are really vague, and really had me scratching my head on where to go. You definitely had to pay attention to things because your quest log is essentially one very brief sentence. I often had to just wander around until I accidentally stumbled on what I had to do. The last thing I want to touch on briefly is the multiplayer. There is a simple local multiplayer where you can compete with a friend. Of course, I don't have any friends, so I was stuck playing against myself. There are a few options to change in here, but it's pretty simple, all things considered. There is unfortunately no online play. In my opinion, this kind of does to the Switch what Mario Tennis and Mario Golf did to the Game Boy Color. It's a really great title. I could easily recommend it, especially if you're a fan of lighthearted story-based indie games. So what else can I say about it? I mean, it's the first golf game on the console, and it's sort of like a spiritual successor to those handheld Mario sports games from nearly 20 years ago. Golf Story is available exclusively on the Nintendo Switch's eShop, so make sure you go pick it up. If you enjoyed this, please feel free to subscribe, share, and check out my other reviews. Or if you're a Monster Hunter fan, check out some of my Monster Hunter-based videos and lists. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace!